What's up, gamers? League of Legends time. NLC Division 2. Munster up against Nativz. It's the Irish Brawl. I was going to do an accent, but I decided I wouldn't do the accent because then Dagda would find me, I imagine. And as much as I'd love to see Dagda, don't want it to be under those circumstances, so decided against. It's Viper and Jamada, by the way, as it tends to be. I just don't really introduce you at this point, which is fine because people are watching on the screen, and if they're not, then hey, they whatever.
Yeah, if you say Dagda in an Irish accent 3 times, he appears behind you, and then everything goes dark. That's how that goes. But yeah, no. Shout out to our boy Dagda. We do love him
I love him.
out here. But yeah, Irish derby, as you put it. Nativz versus Munster. It's the spring finals rematch. I am super hyped for this. I think both of these teams have wildly different stories compared to what we were expecting coming out into the split. One thing to note, I believe Munster actually played their match against Ray off air, leading up to today's game, which, judging by what I can see, Munster actually ended up winning. So Munster currently now sit tied with Nativz at 4-2. So the winner here will actually be joint second place with Unique Esports Club. And like we were saying, two different stories, right? I think for Nativz, still looking fairly strong, but a sense of, inconsistency in some of their gameplay patterns, which is not something that we commonly saw last split in spring. And for Munster, obviously, a bit of a mid-season rebuild, having lost their jungle and bot lane. Harbour and Skew are the only ones that remained, but still, with Shakal in, looking very, very strong. And also, very important to note, Ribery, the old AD carry of, if my mind serves me right, I think I want to say Domino, but I could be wrong, though. I think it was Domino. Could have been light side. Either way.
It might be like. So I'll look it up. Why don't you keep talking?
Go look it up as I go talking. He is substituting in for Lundorf. Lundorf, unfortunately, couldn't be here to play today's game, so he is substituting up in the top side for Nativz here. So potentially some antics to be had. We'll see exactly what goes on throughout this game. But Munster banning away Snillage champion pool with that Udyr. We saw how effective and efficient he was on Tuesday on that pick with the Yuumi on his back. Nativz also answering with the likes of the Senna and the Gwen bans. Talia also taken off the board. Munster, what will their third ban be? It looks like another fast farmer inside of the Karthus. Now, Nativz still have the Zeri or the Yuumi to ban. I think more teams are likely to ban away the Zeri in this instance, but we'll see what they actually want to get done. They could just end up leaving them all up and just trading between the two. As Munster are on blue side, they can only take one pick.
Ribery was actually marked sort of AAB sports last
night. That's what it was, yeah.
So a team that didn't necessarily have the most positive time in the league. We'll have to see how he does up in the top side for Nativz, filling in for Lundorf. Of course, Shakal, a very, very strong player, having made an immediate impact, and of course has been around this team for quite a while. Has been on teams like Hybrid, I believe was one of them. Was definitely on Absolved for the full open, where they were one of the teams touted to do big things. And it's going to be the Yuumi locked in for Dokai.
Yeah, Yuumi. So I expect to see Nativz pick up the Zeri just to split that combination up. At the very least, we'll see whether or not they want to. But that's a really fast Sona Ezreal lock-in. We've seen this answer already come out from Nativz, actually. I believe it was them where they saw the Yuumi and they said, okay, we're going to outscale with the Sona, no problem. And the Yuumi can't really out-pressure this Sona at all. It turns Death Ball compositions into things that just can't be killed. So expect to see, effectively just 3 more bruisers chucked into this composition to allow Sona to get the full use out of her kit. We're going to see the Viego most likely come in here to try and take away one of those bruiser options. But the issue is Wukong is still up and available for Snillage if he wants to go down that route. So we could see that very traditional handshake. And it looks like, given the hover, we could end up seeing this. I think, given the fact that you already have Zeri up, you take it. But plenty of options still there. I think Zeri probably makes the most sense because Nativ's composition from here on out has a pretty solid chance at being relatively short range, but you can still play into a poke composition and just play this artillery style where Sona actually provides you with a whole bunch of sustain. But we're going to get a Kog'Maw with Yuumi, so definitely, I'm not sure how this one's going to play out because Kog'Maw in lane, once one of the Ezreal, definitely can have a very positive time. Kog'Maw has a lot of high base damages in the early game that you don't necessarily expect inside of the trades. Ezreal, not so much known for that. But Nativz hovered over a couple of different picks. We'll see what they decide to go for. They know what the jungle matchup is. Maybe they'll have something in mind. We did see the Volibear hover earlier, and that is what we will get. So, like I said, I expect to see a full bruiser composition come out from the top side at this point from Nativz, because that's what enables Sona to really be oppressive, where she's healing up multiple bruisers at the same time that are just diving forward and providing her with all the safety to do her job. And that's up to Nativz to start removing away some champions that can give them some issues, like that Azir, maybe the Victor as well, would maybe be my next best guess at what they want to take off the board from Harbor.
And on the other side, looking to take away some of these bruisers in the top lane, there's loads, so maybe just ignoring that one, but going for stuff like the Silas that we saw in the mid lane, take away those options for real to get the most benefit out of this Sona pickup, and just force them on something a little bit squishier may well be the option. We'll have to wait and see if that's what Nativz want to do. It's going to be the Ari actually taking it away, who it's going to be surprisingly beefy at times, but now it's going to leave the bruiser options up and available. Gangplank removed from Skewer. We know that he can do lots of work on that champion, so not going to be giving him the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I just really like those two bans from Nativz, because those are two champions that really thrive at dealing with dive or having champions come and try and get on top of you as soon as possible. And things like Cannon Barrage, being able to apply things like Serpent's Fang to an entire team can be instantly can really shut down a lot of what this composition wants to do. And actually, curiously, Munster are the ones that ban away the Victor. I'm not really sure whether or not that's the best of options for them to have gone for, but it's what they've done to try and shut down really now. We get a form of engage out of the top side in the Ornn. Not too surprised to see, a safe top side later come out for Rugby. Obviously, off-roll AD carry, playing in the top side. But again, it still plays into a lot of what they want to do. I am starting to worry a little bit in terms of where they'll find some of their early damage in this game right now. Nativz, with this kind of composition, in my mind, want to spike heavily at 2 items. So I expect really to try and find a pick that does just that, hits 2 items and really comes online and hits like a truck, or maybe even an earlier game champion that can try and make plays around the map with Snillate on this Volibear, because right now, all on one side, Ezreal on the other, you either end up with 3 scaling lanes or 2 scaling lanes and a lane that you can actually use as a bit of a bridge to get to that point where you're super oppressive to deal with.
It's going to be the Zoe, that's going to be what you're playing into. So another question is, how are you going to want to get around the map? What are you going to want to pick up? Something like the LeBlanc could potentially be an option that does a lot of damage in the earlier stages. You don't look super keen on that one, but they're hovering the Kiana.
Sure. I think something super aggressive in the mid lane, like kind of like a Yone, Irelia, Yasuo, something like that would really work well in this slot. And there you go. I think that really just ends up making the most sense, simply because you already have, like I said, these 2 side lanes that are effectively playing to scale. They're going to give you an option later on in the game, but you need something that hits like a truck at 1 item. Something like the Yone can do that, especially if you go down the Blade of the Ruined King path. It gives you a little less survivability, but a lot more punch once you actually complete the item. So I'm actually really happy to see this one come through. I think at the moment as well, enough of a damage profile mix that having that Yone in the mid lane isn't going to be too much of an issue. You have the Ornn Volibear's kind of like 75-25 magic, same thing for the Ezreal as well, and of course they have the Sona there to provide them that, and even Yone has some magic damage in his kit. But yeah, I think Nativz right now, what we're expecting is hit 2 items, really start to abuse the fact that you've got a Sona, try and group up. I think what Munster have gone for with this poke-ish composition with the Zoe, with the Kog'Maw trying to play at range, does make a little bit of sense, but I do worry about their engage options, and I think probably playing towards sides, allowing Skewer to maybe come online and start to try and shut down the likes of Yoppa, the likes of Clocks, and even honestly, really on this Yone, I think that Camille should, in theory, outscale it. I'm actually not too sure. We'll have to see how things progress in that sort of situation if we get to that point in the game. But I think Munster definitely looking to ensure that Ruthless and Dokai don't get shut down too hard. They're able to actually hit their items as well. And they're looking to effectively, in my eyes, kind of have a very similar game plan to Munster, where they're trying to bridge off of this 2v2 in the mid jungle. But I think Harbo and Chakao on Viego and Zoe should spike a little bit sooner than what we expect to see from the likes of Volibear and Yone. Yone needs a couple of levels under his belt. He needs some of those items, attack speed items, to actually have access to the Qs to find a little more consistent damage and knockups.
So we're going to be watching and seeing, is this a case of us needing to keep an eye on Munster in the earlier stages? Are they the ones that are going to have the burden of proof in this kind of composition?
I'm actually not too sure, because again, I feel like the scaling on both sides is actually pretty good. I'm just not sure where the ceilings actually lie for one another. Again, this Sona pick has a lot more value than people would traditionally think when they see Sona, especially because it's just not something that we see comparatively very often. We had that one phase all the way back in, I think, season 9 or 10, where you had like Sona Taric, Sona Lux, all of those kind of duo enchanter bottom lanes, where we started to see the power of that Sona, but that was even before, I believe, things like the Moonstone and such. So we'll see what exactly Fox can get done. But like I was expecting, as soon as we saw that, a pretty bulky bruiser-ish type composition from the top side, and it's exactly what we get. Munster gonna have to do a hell of a lot in my mind to be able to get through that composition, as we are here onto the Rift for the spring final rerun.
Yeah, it's going to be a run back. Munster Rugby Gaming on the blue side, Nativz on the red. Both of these teams sitting at 4 and 2, so winner will go above their opposition. And for this one, 2 stories of very different teams. Nativz with a composition that looks pretty similar to what it was last split. Of course, Rugby coming in just to fill out for Lundorf, who's not available today. Munster Rugby Gaming not even looking like the same team that started the split because of some internal shenanigans. Is
sure
how we can say it, I guess. I don't really like.
We can't say it. We can't. Politically, it's how we're gonna put it. As junglers, both gonna start on red buff. So what we're gonna see is Shakal end up most likely on the top side, unless we see some kind of buff to buff action to try and shut down Stille going towards that bottom side. But Skewer on the Camille has a very comfortable matchup into this Ornn. Not only that, of course, you have to kind of factor in that Ribéry, yes, admittedly, is going to be off-roll here. So we'll see exactly how he gets on in the top side, but it seems like Shakal and Skewer are going to potentially look to try and abuse Ribéry here on that one. As, I mean, they have Kog'Maw, Yuumi, there's not really too much set up on the bottom side, and Yoppa is going to have a whole bunch of safety himself, and Shakal not really that much set up himself, just the Spectral Maw kind of wants to have that lined up for him to hit freely, and I think a duo lane like Sona and Ezreal is just going to be too hard to punish.
It's going to be very safe for them to just back away. The one thing to note, of course, is Sona is super squishy and not particularly mobile, so keep your eyes if they manage to get any kind of ganked out onto her. Obviously not looking to do so immediately as Shakal is moving up towards that top side, as you've already mentioned, but definitely someone to keep your eyes peeled on. Everywhere else is pretty standard, it must be said. I guess Zoe Yone is not necessarily a matchup that we've seen large amounts of.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Can be a bit of a skill matchup. Again, it's one of these matchups where Zoe is playing against the melee champion, but for now, Harbo getting aggressed onto by Rile.
Oh, Harbo's going to need to try and find a route out. Has the flash available, drops the ignite. Interestingly enough, to try and get some more damage through, but it's going to be forced to back away.
Yeah, I think the Ignite, of course, when you have level 3 spell feast, it just gives you a bit of movement speed when you cast that summoner spell, so just used as the means to get out of dodge. And if he has sorcery in the secondary runes, which is definitely very possible. Actually, no, not possible, because he has Min and Dematerializer, so just getting that movement speed out of that ability to ensure that he doesn't have to blow his flash. Great champion knowledge, really, from Harbo to not just panic and blow the flash itself.
Absolutely, and of course kept the flash if the Volibear had continued the chaser. Maybe he had looked to blow his summoner as well, but Snille not interested in doing so this time around. So a semi-successful gank in the early stages, but Zoe's still going to feel pretty comfortable just moving back into lane and hanging around. But in the bot side again, it's just Ezreal, Sona controlling this bot lane and should be able to continue doing so. Stone forward getting a little bit of poke down, but actually again you can see how much damage Sona can take as really going to be forced to flash away.
Yeah, will be really flashing away. Could definitely be a bit of a nuisance for him later on, but if Shakal or Harbo path in towards this bottom brush, that could really be dangerous. Shakal is just going to take the slightly safer route as he goes for a reset here, but now he's just going onto Harbo.
He's helped defend as still going to dive forward towards the Zoe. Remember, the flash is available. Actually, no, it's already been blown, but he will pick one up. So flash is available for Zoe.
Flash is available now. That's what matters. As really, he's just going to have his lane shoved in yet again by Shakal. So a lot of XP shared here by Harbo and his jungler, but at the end of the day, a positive lane state is used here as Harbo just flashes on the spot to get a little bit of extra damage down. And actually, they are going to fully force really as far away as possible off of this wave, and we'll miss a whole bunch of CS. Is down over 10 already, 5 minutes in. Gonna feel a little bit rough about that one. But again, Harbo did share a whole bunch of the XP as Clocks in the bottom side.
Yopper, though, trying to get the damage down onto Kog'Maw. Remember, Kog'Maw passive is a thing. So he's going to survive a second longer with the heal coming through from Dogai. But who's going to be the first to fall? It's going to be Shakal. But he's not going to be able to find anything. This bot lane just heated up.
Yeah, bot lane really close to being a bit of a bloodbath there. As on the top side, we haven't really looked at it too much, but Skewer is just getting further and further ahead here in the CS department. As I think we're going to have a replay of the bottom side play just to get a grips of how exactly it all broke out, as Ruthless just kind of catches them on the E and they just start to run down Clocks. Clocks probably going to have to be forced to flash away as yet. Ruthless with that Ghost Flash gets even more aggressive up in his face with it. And then Yopper not able to find enough damage. Didn't quite want to step forward for one more auto. Of course, like you said, would have had to likely flash forward to get that auto, and then Kog'Maw passive just takes him out anyway. So they go for the exchange of no kills.
Which is something that we do love to see. No kills around these parts, thank you very much. Infernal Dragon is the first one spawning onto the Rift. Neither team has made any big moves towards it yet. As I say that though, Nativz are moving through. Sona hanging around with the jungler, as the Volibear and Sona will be moving on down. But Vigo is also there and will start up the objective, but he's going to be given away by his Field of Secrecy. As Nativz.
Oh, that's really awkward because Shakal's now on the opposite side of the map. And they will actually collapse onto Snille first, if anything. So I think they might have to just back away.
Yeah, Snille in a lot of trouble here. Going to be caught up by 3 members of Munster Rugby Gaming. Spit one more. First blood, Diego.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the fact that, not Shakal, rather, Snille and Clocks separated from each other was the difference maker here. Because if they go into that Tribush as a 2-man, then maybe they can actually try and play that fight out. And Yopper can assist from the backside. But I mean, it's just a really great flash from Shakal with that Spectral Maul, max range. It's something that you don't always expect from that distance, but Snille with no flash isn't able to dodge out on it and just gets melted through. Fortunately, the kill does go on to Shakal instead of the Kog'Maw on Ruthless, which you'd probably prefer a little bit more. But still, a kill going over isn't going to feel great as you lose that Infernal Dragon at the same time.
Relius moving back into lane with Yuumi on his back and Yopper Clocks. While they've been pretty good at maintaining control of this lane, haven't been able to achieve too much from doing so just yet. I've grabbed themselves a very small gold lead, but with Kog'Maw being able to pick up that wave, gotta imagine it's going to be slightly more slender. And for Munster Rugby Gaming, are they happy just to sit back and scale up?
I mean, yeah, I think their composition scales fine. I think the only issue is that so does Nativz. So it's more about what kind of value they can get from their own compositions here, because again, you know, Sona will come online, really buff up these bruisers. On the opposite side, it's about Kog'Maw, you know, hitting 2.5, 3 items. Same thing for Skewer, so he can take over a side lane, because eventually that is what will happen. Ribbery isn't going to be able to hold the Camille in the side anymore. It could be a bit of an issue here.
Ribbery's not on the side anymore, though. He's in the middle, gets the knock up and helps get the kill. In fact, secures the kill himself of the Zoe before teleporting back top.
Yeah, really great stuff. I think just opened out towards the mid lane off the back of a reset. Had the teleport, had a pretty decent wave state. And he teleports back to the top side to catch a pretty sizable wave. So really great roam from Ribbery to shut down Harbo, who has no flash. Would have been nice definitely for that Yone to pick up the kill, but at the end of the day, the play is still made. And Harbo will miss out on a little bit of CS as Ruthless actually move his way up towards the mid lane to, I assume, shove in this wave. But I do see on the minimap Skewer and Shakal on top of that Herald. So they will pick that one up. That will be the consolation prize for that mid lane play. Nativz will miss out on this objective as well. So Munster have both the neutrals off the back of some of their plays they've been making, but now looking to try and cross map onto whoever was looking to catch this wave. So they will lose half of his health because Zoe remains a very balanced champion.
Absolutely. Lots of damage coming through from Harbo, and Yopper and Clock's able to secure himself as a plate and will be able to shimmy on backwards. But Rift Herald in this one, picked up by Shakal on the Viego. Anywhere particularly you'd love to see this one dropped?
I mean, I think to me, probably the Kog'Maw, right? But as we've kind of been seeing throughout the course of this laning phase so far, Yopper and Clocks have had pretty consistent lane priority down here. This Ruthless and Dokai have been pretty much shoved underneath their tower the entire time. So I think maybe you just go and give it to Skewer, because if you do accelerate that side lane, like we said, holding Camille is going to be a little bit of a difficult task, but it seems like maybe maybe we'd have a mid lane drop, but it doesn't seem we're going to have that. So yeah, I think try and accelerate Skewer on this side lane, because only realistically will Yone be able to hold that side lane, and even then, it's going to be a skill matchup.
my eyes peeled to see where the next play is going to occur. Of course, Shakal having that Rift Herald in pocket. Could be going bot, could be going somewhere else, but he's going to be a focus of something. You've got to imagine we've got a second Dragon Cloud up in about 2 minutes time if no other events transpire, but Relay's just trying to get some damage onto Hubbo. Will be put to sleep as the bot back to avoid another tower shot as Clocks moves into the mid lane as well.
Yeah, Clocks will sit behind as Hubbo finds a bear in his lane and probably got a bit of a jump scare. But poor jump will allow him to retreat back to where he was. And yeah, I think Shakal just consistently seeking out where he could potentially drop that Herald. It seems like Nativz wanted to try and make a play onto Hubbo, get his flash. Again, a lot of CC available. Yone does have a whole bunch of, obviously his own setup, but wants to have somebody else, get some lockdown to ensure that his damage comes through, crucially, from that setup. It seems like Nativz just wants to try and slingshot him a little bit further ahead, but just haven't been able to do the job as of now. But still, like we said, this slow-paced early game, I don't necessarily think it benefits one team harder than the other. So I feel like the compositions scale to a point where I feel like execution is going to be the bigger deal. Finding, the more favorable conditions to have your compositions find more favorable situations in team fights, in map states, is the bigger deal than just inherently getting ahead.
That Rift Herald being dropped up top, although we've got a fight going on. Revelis needs to be very careful. The last chapter has been popped and it might be able to get them away. Flash is available, the Ghost has been popped, and the speed from Cogbar is enough to see him waddle away. But Nativz still trying to get something going on this bot side.
Yeah, honestly, I've been really liking some of this Ghost action from
Revelis is in a lot of trouble, has been exhausted, needs to be careful, looking towards Jobber, but will be able to get away this time around. But Camille is there to dissuade any kinds of plays continuing, and actually might like to try and find an ultimatum. Won't be able to do so as Nativz a little bit too quick on the retreat, but this should mean that Dragon goes to Munster.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that was a mistake from Skewer or not, because he saw Snille trying to flank, of course, Ruthless and Dokai, but by stopping that mid lane play.
Yeah, Skewer trying to make a play happen in the mid lane, wasn't able to find anything but the ultimatum as Relay survives.
Yeah, I think Relay cast his ultimate as Skewer was in the middle of casting his, and it just dragged them underneath the tower, and that was my guess on the interaction there. But now Relay could have been on the receiving end of a tower dive, but now it will just be all members sharing some tower plates in the mid lane. Snille gonna get chunked out. Actually, flash. Oh my god!
What?
That was so much burst damage. On the bottom side, it's at the very least going to get traded out, so Nativz will get something, but really nice play from Munster to just immediately remove Snille from that play. Now they could even continue to pressure. I think the better thing to do is, just go rotate back down towards the bottom side. Don't allow Yoppa and Clocks on these scaling picks to get too free of a time in collecting their resources.
Really, really great play in that mid lane, and now it's just a question of what is the next movement? What is the next idea? Skewer has completed his tour of the Rift and then finds himself in top lane where he grabs himself another couple of plates. Of course, was the one who was donated. The Rift Tower dives away from Ribery and steps back in to get some poke through. Still a few seconds left on tower plates, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to grab any more. Looking at the state of where everyone is, maybe bot lane with Cogwall maybe being able to grab one potentially, but as gold stands right now, Skewer just teasing a dive, but it looks like it's just going to stand as it is. So 1,000 gold to the good at the moment for Munster Rugby Gaming. Not a huge advantage, but they've got 2 dragons as well.
Yeah, and I think the 2 dragons part is definitely the slightly more crucial thing than anything, because eventually, Nativz are going to have to be dragged out to fight right now. Only being 1k gold down, they probably won't mind, but it's about ensuring that they're on item spikes when those situations occur. For now, Munster very much on spike, right? You see double Divine Sunderer, Everfrost, Blade the Rune King, and even the Moonstone has already been picked up by Dokai. So they are ready to fight in 3 minutes time and are only going to get a little bit stronger, whereas you look towards the Nativz end, still searching for that shield bow. Divine Sunderer not quite there for Snille, and Yoppa already has the Manamune and is working very slowly towards the Essence Reaver, is pretty close towards it and should have it by the time that second dragon spawns up. Shakal could be in danger.
I think he is indeed going to be caught out, stunned up the ultimate coming through the crescendo from Clocks, but Shkal actually managing to flash away now. Support coming through as Revelius needs to be careful, but there's the last chapter coming on through. Yopper dives forward. Can he get the kill? No, he can't just yet. And now Revelius is turning the damage around, looking towards the Ezreal. It might be enough, but a flash away to safety, and now Revelius is in deep trouble, but has the passive, not going to be able to find the Ezreal, who's already gone down, but puts a bit of damage down onto the Yone instead, as Harbo stepping forward has the Yuumi on his back, looking for damage onto Clocks. Won't be able to find him as Relay body blocks exceptionally well. Dokai jumping on and off, looking for the Yone. Can he get the kill? I'm not so sure. Teleport coming on through will dissuade anything more, as Ribery's half health, and now Harbo might look to clear out this minion wave, but won't chase any further.
Yeah, won't chase any further. What a crazy fight, and it all starts with Nativz trying to find the pick onto Shakal. They do, I believe, end up picking him up, right? I'm actually not even sure anymore because that fight was kind of crazy. But they overdive afterwards, trying to pick up Ruvulus, who, again, just finished the Blade During King. The Yuumi ultimate slows down any true advance, and he just gets one shot. It's so much damage coming out of the Kog'Maw. It's not the first time that we've seen him just immediately get blown up, and we'll see exactly how it all kicks off. Again, trying to pick up Shakal on top of this Krug camp. Levels up. Could have actually saved his life, honestly, some of the bonus stats he got, but walks away for now, and then the players turn around, try and find Ruvulus, but look at all of this damage that comes through. Immediately gets bopped. Shakal is also going to try and then go on to Clocks, but then gets fate sealed, dies in the process. Ruvulus then also additionally goes down to Relay's damage, as he was in his Soul Unbound form, and then Harbo just tries to press the issue beyond that, as playing alongside Harbo.
He's not going to be able to get the kill onto Ribery, and now Snillay's here to try and pick him up. Zoe's pretty low on health, about half flashes into the bush, but is going to be caught out by the volley bear, who's looking to chase on, but Harbo should be out. Oh,
whoa! Flash forward. W, yeah, all right. Didn't want him to get out of that one. But still, Zoe's flash being down, definitely a very big deal, especially if there's no like stopwatch in the inventory for the next fight as well, which seems like won't be the case. And Snillay not having flash, whilst it's definitely important to have it to maybe, you know, flash on top of the Kog'Maw or again, the Zoe as well, like we were just talking about. I think picking up this pick now and then having Zoe be a little more vulnerable afterwards maybe can work out for you. But taking a stock of items as we're 20 seconds away. Again, the only thing that's really happened since we last spoke about is Relay now has a shield bow, so he can get a little more aggressive, and Yopper has that Essence Reaver finished up, and Moonstone, crucially, is available for Clocks. So now, if we start to see more of a death ball situation where these fights are a little more drawn out, and Clocks doesn't get picked off early on, you're going to see so much healing and shielding start to come in, but still need a little more time before we actually end up seeing Clocks, you know, hit that really irritating spike where you have that Saris Embrace and maybe even Lucidity boost for even more haste.
Revelius just stepping up, trying to get some poke down. We saw Harbo doing the same. Okay, that's when Yopper takes a little bit of a beating, needs to be careful, but Nativz have this front line, these beefy juggernauts that are moving forward into the Dragon Pit. Want to try and take this one down. Harbo gets knocked up, but manages to pop back to the portal, and now the question is...
Stairs?
Well, there's no question really, is it? Nativz just going to be able to secure this Dragon first of the game for them, slow down the potential of a Mountain Soul by another 5 minutes, and Munster happy to trade this one out for a mid lane tower, although the one has been blown. Can't find Revelius though, it's just a slow, no knock-up. But Nativz are going to continue the charge, looking towards whoever they can catch as Relay fate seals into nothing as the Kog'Maw ghosts away. Although on the top side they need to be careful, as they might have caught out Skewer, who's going to get the ultimatum down onto all. The last captain's going to be blown in the mid lane as Relay goes low. Needs to be careful, blown up and taken down by the Kog'Maw. Revelius continues the chase. Shakal looking for something but won't be able to find it as he steals Yone's form, dives back with the ultimate. Munster pick up one. And they're going to look to press forward potentially towards this tower, but there's a lot of members of Nativz still defending. Clocks goes to about half health. Rivertail has been dropped though, so it's going to give them a battering ram towards this objective. Don't think it will have enough damage to take down the tower outright, but that'll be a lot of damage as they get the stun onto Snillay. There's the damage. There's only going to be a couple more auto attacks left in that tower as Harbo dives forward, gets damage onto Clocks, won't be able to find the execution. As Munster Rugby Gaming just wait on the next wave to try and force through another siege, but are they going to try and blow someone up? Is the damage there? Yopper goes to half health. The tower is secured. The Revelius might have overstayed his welcome though. He's going to have to flash away. The slow, the drowsy, they keep him alive for a second longer. The passive will now be utilized as the healing from Snillay could be massive. Harbo needs to try and escape, but he won't be able to do so. It's a double kill for the Yone. But Dokai takes a long journey and manages to escape.
Oh, that was really fortunate timing, because I think Shakal was just trying to get out of there. I don't think he cared about Dokai. Does manage to just about attach to him, and Yeah, Munster just overstepped for that tier 2. Fortunately, the Baron isn't up for another 20 seconds. Otherwise, I think they would have gone for an attempt here. But they go for the siege. Ruthless just oversteps, gets clipped by the slow. And then as soon as that happens, Olmut comes down. And you have that teleport deep, deep, deep from Relay to ensure that they can pick up these kills. 500 gold shutdown. Another, I think, just a regular kill, 300. So 800 gold into Relay's back pocket. And yeah, I think Shikao was just trying to peace late, to be honest with you. I'm not sure whether or not he had the intention to bring that cat with him. But just about manages to do so. And Munster definitely in a very threatening position, right? I think with that Kog'Maw, now having the Gwintus as well, we've seen Silly get shredded quite a few times, to be honest with you. Definitely very worried as the game goes on for him. We'll see what he builds to try and stop that from happening. Has a Warden's Mail in his inventory, so I expect the Frozen Heart to come out as a second item. But yeah, definitely something that is very, very scary to look at, as Relay actually has a BF Sword and another Vamp Scepter, so I wonder if he's actually going to go BT second. There is a lot of poke inside of the Munster comp, of course, but also I think life's still a little more valuable than you'd maybe expect in a game like this, just simply because you're going to have to be getting into the mix of things. You already have, of course, the Sonar as well to provide a lot of additional shielding for you. Having your own life still on top of that, it's just going to make you even more obnoxious to kill. So honestly, if he does end up going towards that Bloodthirster second, wouldn't really blame him. But for now, Nativz just trying to siege up and around this mid lane, because you can see how low this is, and they're going to try and force.
Elias goes really low. The tower's gone, and he is deleted. He's been blowing people up all game, and now he gets to take
Baron? They're pinging into Baron. Really?
Yeah,
He's
he's
on
already
top of
there.
it. Skewer's on the bottom side. He does have teleport, but with Kog'Maw dead, Kog'Maw is definitely the strongest member of the Munster lineup at the moment. You definitely make an argument for Skewer, but he has to teleport to get involved to stop this. We'll see what Munster try and do to get this fight going for them.
It looks like Nativz got what they wanted, the teleport being blown, and they just peel away. We've seen this a couple of times today. Just get rid of that one, and then the next time, there won't be an opportunity for Camille to get involved.
Yeah, all right, really good stuff from Nativz. They just say, all right, we don't even care about the Baron. We just want Skewer's teleport. So there's a little less wiggle room in terms of finding slightly more positive lane assignments here. So great job from Nativz after that pick in the mid lane. And now they are going to just go and immediately make their way towards that mid lane and then go down towards that dragon, try and pick that one up, find some setup. Because honestly, Munster, the thing about the Munster composition is moving backwards initially with that Kog'Maw and that Yuumi to sort of provide pill for any dive, really good. Moving forward, a little more tricky. And again, Nativz have the harder engage options of the two teams. It's just about whether or not they can actually use them to lock down that Kog'Maw, lock down Harbo on the Zoe.
For Revelius, it's going to be all about positioning, not being caught out like he was. Well, has been a couple of times this game, but now Munster are moving into darkness as Nile is going to catch out Skewer, gets the ultimatum down onto the Baron. The damage now being blown forward onto the Orn River. He is dead, and Snille might go the same way, but they're going to turn attention towards Clocks, and he's going to be deleted as two fall from Nativz. Munster will be turning their attention towards the newly spawned Dragon. Is 2 for 0 catches and an objective.
Yeah, all right. Well, Munster find themselves a very positive fight. Ribery just kind of gets blown up, stepping a little bit too far forward, and the fight snowballs from there. Clocks caught in the choke, not able to flash anywhere, I guess. Honestly, I think that he doesn't flash and die, then what just happened? So Munster pick up the dragon, now one away from Mountain Soul, and honestly, if they pick up that mountain, it's going to be such a pain in the ass for Nativz to try and take down the Kog'Maw with the additional shield and some of those resistances coming in as well. We'll see whether or not they are able to find it. And again, you know, having literally just said Munster's engage options are relatively limited, to find themselves a fight like that is a bit of a godsend, because it should be Nativz that dictate the pace of when engages get set, and whether or not Munster can answer with their own defensive tools is usually how you would expect a lot of these team fights to be going. But finding that, you know, odd blip in tempo, I suppose, really did help out Munster in this instance.
And they found themselves a 2,000 gold lead as well. 24 minutes in, Harvey picks up the blue buff because Shkal's already got a copy, so doesn't need to double dip in that case. And Zoe, of course, does love a bit of mana when it comes to fighting. Baron is still on the cards, remember? It wasn't taken when Nativz last attempted to force. They were just using it as a bit of a bargaining chip to trade away Skewer's teleport, which is about 3/4 of the way back. Of Monster Rugby Gaming, it's all about trying to keep this Kog'Maw alive and seeing what you can do.
Let's see I mean, that's definitely the crucial thing, keeping Ruthless alive in some of these team fights. Yes, Skewer's really fed, and he's probably going to be on a bit of a one-man mission, maybe two if Shakal comes and joins him. Looking towards Clocks. I think, honestly, in a game like this might be one of the few exceptions where I would understand if Skewer plays to blow up Clocks as opposed to Yopper. Just to try and shut down those prolonged team fights, because simply put, if you aren't able to burst through Yopper, which is going to be difficult enough with the exhaust and with Clocks always pocketing him, if you can at the very least take away Sona, providing all of that utility for the rest of the team, I think you can consider your job at the very least half done, or 3/4 of the way done, in shutting down Nativz win conditions in team fights.
Question is, where are those team fights going to occur? Where is the next play going to happen? Shakal, along with Dokai, just hanging around, potentially looking for a flank, but they're just going to be happy stealing away the chickens as Ribber is still laying silent guards for Yopper and Clocks in the mid lane. Dragon up in 2.5 minutes. Will be Soul for Munster Rugby Gaming. How big a get is Soul in this game?
I mean, I think definitely for Munster, the fact that it kind of shuts down some of that all-in potential from Nativz, which is kind of what some of their draft, or a lot of their draft, honestly, is centered around, I think is a pretty big deal. If Nativz can, deny that away for as long as possible, or just eventually pick up the Soul, it would be 15 minutes away from now, which I don't know what a 40-minute version of this game looks like, to be honest with you all. I'm not sure if or not I want to find out. And Nativz, of course, would be in for a slightly easier time marauding forward in some of these dives. But again, Ruthless has done such a good job with the Ghost kiting out, having Yuumi on his back as well. It's just provided so much self-peel. Nativz really do have to think about how they approach some of these team fights, whether or not they can maybe turn to flank angles from Relay instead. Or Ribbery just going for long-range engages. Trying to just blow Kog'Maw's flash, I think, is the biggest deal. Because if you can at the very least take down his flash, then you can then exchange your own flashes later on to try and get on top of him. So just trying to find non-committal ways to do that is probably the best bet here for me, for Nativz, to try and find a successful team fight. But they have to do it right before an objective, so kind of on a window like this. But I'm not sure whether or not Munster are going to give them the opportunity to, lose that key resource.
Nativz just going to be standing strong in the mid lane. Now, Jamada. Got a minute till Dragon. Your favorite game?
Yes.
What's Ezreal's item called?
And
Reed, don't help him. There's just
I'm not
no
gonna lie.
way.
Sandclaw. Can't remember.
Sand strikes Claw, but the Baron's been tied up. He's going to have to hold that one up as the Volibear goes over the wall. Looking potentially for a steal. What can he do? He's gone too early. He's going to be deleted. As Skewer takes the kill, the Dragon secured by Munster. And now Nativz are going to be chased away. Nice ultimate. Catches them all. The fate seal, but it only seals his own fate as he's going to have to jump away. But Revelia's untouched, half health, looking to chase forward. Yopper dancing around, but gets shut down by Viego. Revelia's chases down and executes the Sona. Baron on 4 members of Munster Rugby Gaming, and they can move towards the Dragon Soul as well.
Yeah, they're going to get the Soul for free. No one else up and available. I thought maybe Nativz had a chance of turning around that fight once Relay hit. I think it was about a 3-man fate seal, but unfortunately there's just not enough follow-up on the back end. Snilly was already dead, so he tried to go in towards the Baron. I think panicked a little bit when he got slept because he didn't feel like there was enough HP left up on that Baron. And just a great start from Munster, and the ability to shut down any real chance at a steal really just solidifies the play entirely. Great stuff from Munster. We're having a replay on our screens, and you can see Sleep immediately. Snilly just kind of panics. If he goes to sleep, Munster can probably burst through this one, as I think he is honestly still alive by the time his Baron hits about 1k, but yeah, just unlucky to not really have much of a chance at stealing it away, unfortunately. And Nativz, this turnaround looked really nice for a second, but again, there's just not enough, tangible follow-up, I guess, is the best way that I'll put it, as the chase down ensues and everybody gets absolutely murdered across the board for Nativz. One step closer for Munster to win this game. Really well played from them on that Baron start. And now, with that Soul, again, any real chance Nativz had at trying to shut down this Kog'Maw gets even harder and harder.
So the question here, of course, as always, is Munster Rugby Gaming secured themselves the Baron. Are they just looking to break down everything outside the base?
Yep, absolutely. I think that is the bare minimum Take down those inner towers on the side lanes. Try and maybe break open the base. If you can try and utilize some of the poke you have. Kog'Maw is super strong, but now Kog'Maw doesn't have summoner spells. This is kind of the window that Nativz can look at. They don't have their own flashes to try and get on top of him immediately, but if you get poked out like this, then it's just going to be really difficult to even find that initial engage in the first place.
He's a tank. Well, that's not super fun, as he's going to be sent back to Fountain. Of course, the Volley Bear taking 3/4 of his health is, not super great for Nativz, but Munster Rugby Gaming are going to be forced to back away. Don't want to be overextending their welcome. And they've got Skewer creating space on the top side, meaning that they're going to be able to move into the mid lane and take down another minion wave, potentially looking to crash it into the base. But actually, it looks like Munster are trying to group up. Is this what you want to see from them?
Yeah, I think so, honestly. Just keep yourselves together. Even if Nativz try and engage right now, I think you're just a little bit too strong to be dealt with. The only real worry is obviously Kog'Maw not having flash, but again, I think if you go and try and split up too heavily, then you run the issue of not having enough numbers to defend the fight. But Skewer has been up on the top side, split pushing. He's been a silent force this game. Honestly, I think Interibri hasn't really had too much to do. Up 3 levels though, and will aid and enable Munster to take down this final tower outside of the base. Baron buff is dissipated. And like we said, we expected this to be the outcome at the very least. Those inner towers. Oh, actually, he stands on 1 HP. Feels like people forgot, but Harbo, tried to go over the wall. Will eventually fall now.
Yeah, Skewer is going to be cutting that one down to size, and now the area outside the base has been laid bare. Nativz huddled around their inhibitor towers, just making sure that those aren't going to fall, and it doesn't look like there's any concerted effort from Munster Rugby Gaming to do so, as they're going to take this opportunity to go back, grab themselves an item or two, and then move back onto the map, potentially for the killing blow. We've got Elder Dragon in 3 minutes, Baron up in 2. That could be an opportunity for Nativz.
Yeah, no, it definitely could, and I think that's probably where, if Nativz could win this game, is the place. It's going to be at this Elder Dragon. If they can stop Munster from doing the Baron for 40 seconds so that both of these mega objectives are up, they can really force them into an awkward situation where maybe the Elder just gets flipped, right? And I think that's always the risk you run when you end up picking up the soul, not super early, right? But in a situation where you're very, very far ahead and then you don't close out before that Elder spawns up, if you're not far enough ahead to disable Nativ's ability to come and contest, then you end up with situations where, Nativz could end up stealing the Elder Dragon.
And if they steal the Elder Dragon, grab themselves a fight, we're getting to the point of the game where it's 12.1x. You can just win a game off a team fight randomly, because sometimes it'd be like that. Don't worry about it. Munster Rugby Gaming stepping forward, trying to clear out, and have slowed their advance. There's no more Baron buff, so can't use that one to siege in. And are they just playing around Baron potentially?
Yeah, it seems like that's the case. They've not been able to find anywhere to really break open the base. The bottom side tower did take a beating during the Baron siege, but not really enough of one that they feel comfortable going back towards the bottom side to collect on those dividends. So seems like Baron will be the next port of call for Munster. But again, if Nativz can just try and keep them off that Baron for a little bit of time, maybe they can find an angle for an Elder fight. You see Yoppa just trying to chase down Skewer. It's definitely a very interesting play. They've got 30 seconds, so honestly, this chase down from Yoppa isn't even terrible. Oh, he
lands the slow Skewer, pops
got another
himself elixir of iron and flashes away. Yoppa's still chasing, but he gets away.
Skewer missed the E as well on the wall. Honestly, if Yoppa flashes for it, I think he can still chase him down with the Sereldas and an exhaust. But now the issue is this chase has gone on so long, he's overextended.
Teleport coming through as well. Yoppa
both sides.
Gonna be... They're fighting, but in the wrong direction here is really...
The top side.
Harbo needs to be careful as the fight's continuing. Scarl picks up the kill, and now Ribery's in trouble. The collapse turned into a collapse, and that's 2 for Munster Rugby Gaming. Now Yoppa clocks and Relay in the river. It looks like Munster Rugby Gaming have 5, looking to just find the inside track towards Baron.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to walk up towards the Baron. The issue is, 20 seconds, is it enough? Yeah, Elder spawns in 20 seconds. They're not going to kill the Baron until Elder spawns. I'm not sure they make it back towards the Elder before they kill the Baron. It seems like Harbo has half an idea of this and is stuck around in the mid lane to try and maybe layer in some poke. But that Baron, how quick is it being burned down? Because they do have a Kog'Maw with 3 items. So it's going to die now, but Kog'Maw's moving over. This Baron is still going down really slow. Shaka! Oh. No! Are you serious? I mean, there's no smite, so maybe there's a risk of a takedown. Oh my
He was
god.
going forward. The Baron has finally been secured, but it's going to be traded over. It's going to be secured by Nativz. Now this fight could well go their way. Skewer is going to be blown up, executed by the Elder Dragon. Revelous moves away. They only lose one member on the fight, but Nativz, they find their way back in.
I mean, do you remember when I said about 10 minutes ago, I don't see this game going to 40 minutes? Yeah, I lied, apparently, because Munster just decided to take a Baron for Elder to trade for what reason? And now, 4 out of 5 members on this native side have the Elder Dragon to work with. They even have objective bounties this far into the game to try and slingshot themselves some more gold. This is the window where Munster could legitimately lose the game here. Natives can have all of the pressure in the world. They can just force forward. They have Ormers coming up soon from Relay. They have the Orn Ormer as well. They can look just tower dive with the Elder. They can end the game, maybe.
They're looking to push forward. They're going to take out the inhibitor, and now they're pressing further and further into the Munster Rugby gaming base. We're looking to tie, but nice one for tell off both towers. Still Ace goes low, though, will be deleted. But can Revelius stand? The damage coming through is huge. The base shield misses, and Revelius is just opening fire. He's looking towards Relay. He's looking towards Clocks. Takes down the former, looks to the latter, but Clocks is gone. Yopper and his lane partner managed to escape, but Munster Rugby Gaming have too many members chasing forward. I don't know if this is an overextend from Nativz, but they lose out 3 members. What can Munster gain?
I mean, this is the thing. Munster have a wave with them. It's 40 seconds now until Relay comes back up. 20 and 25 until Ribery and Stille. They'll break open the base. Whether they can end the game in this period of time, I'm not too sure. But that tower dive, I don't know, man. It just felt like collectively, Natives weren't on the same page in terms of what they wanted to do, because Ruthless was not focused here. 20 seconds still until Relay comes back up, and this is 5 members of Munster in the base with Baron.
They're looking towards the first tower. They might be able to secure it. They will be able to secure it, but health bars are low. And remember, Yopper has Elder Dragon buff. Harbour goes low, but manages to survive. Snille goes Golden Skull. It's going to be deleted, but he gets the resurrect. Ribery's here too. The alternator comes on down as Skewer tries to save his team, but he falls. Shakal is running the other direction, but I don't think he escapes, as there is Yone to pick up the kill. Quadra kill goes forward to Yopper, and it's only Revelius who stands. It looks like he might have escaped. What's he looking for? He's going to try and take down the wave. He's trying to slow him down, but it's correct, as Yopper, he could be looking for it, jumps forward, pentakill by Yopper, and that might be the game for Nativz.
What the hell just happened for the last 4 minutes of this game? They should be able to end, I'm pretty sure. The death time is way too long. Ruthless in particular, 50 more seconds. They've got a super creep, so that tower isn't as tanky as it has to be. Munster just threw the game!
Harbour's up in 3 seconds, but there are members from Nativz stepping forward, turn off the tower, throw down the ultimate. Harbour not even knocked up, tries to put them to sleep, but it doesn't matter. There's too many members. The last chapter has been written as Nativz take the win. I mean,
This is a game where chat won. This is a viewer win. This isn't a team win for anybody. I have to say, banger way to end the game. I mean, there's so many random questions that just occurred, right? Munster trading Baron for Elder, Natives then going too far on the tower dive at the very end, and then run straight back up to the other end of the map for Munster to do the exact same thing, not respecting that Clocks and Yopper still had the Elder buff. A pentakill to wrap into an end of the game as well. I don't know. It's just, you can't write games like that.
I would say GG go next, but that was our final game of the day, so we're not going to be able to do so. But we are going to be able to go to a post show. We've got interviews, and we'll have a general chat about what happened today, so don't go anywhere. See you in a couple of minutes.